Extend a permanent resident Australian visa. If you currently hold a permanent resident Australian visa, this means that you are a holder of a permanent residency but not considered a citizen of Australia. If you think that it is about to expire and wish to extend it, you may want to check out the tips below. First and foremost though, you should be aware what your permanent resident status entails. Your permanent residency visa entitles you to stay in Australia for an indefinite period, which means you can leave and re-enter Australia at will for 5 years. After your initial visa expires, but you wish to continue traveling in and out of Australia, you must get a resident return visa, but be warned that if you travel outside for a long time, you may lose your permanent resident status. Most common reasons and routes. The main and most common reasons for extending your permanent resident Australian visa are study, graduation, work, holiday, and of course migration. If you are staying for study or graduation, you should explore getting a new student visa, while those opting to stay longer for work should go for a new work visa. If you are extending for holiday purposes in the land down under, a visitor visa usually suffices. Are you eligible for application? Probably the first most important thing to keep in mind is double-checking if your visa is eligible for extension. If your current visa states no further stay, it means you aren't eligible. The following reasons show your eligibility for a resident return visa: a permanent Australian resident, and a former Australian permanent resident. The last visa should not have been cancelled, or your citizenship should not have been renounced for the former reason to be applicable. Requirements: have all your documentation ready, and also you should have spent at least 2 of your last 5 years as a permanent resident in Australia. For documentation, you must have enough substantial evidence for the years of absence from Australia: cultural, employment, business, or personal ties. If you haven't met the first requirement, spending at least of the last 5 years in Australia, you need to provide proof for being absent. It would also be of important help if you have immediate family with a permanent residency visa. To continue application, you need to complete Form 1085 along with your present or old permanent residence visa and your valid passport. Also have all important documents ready: cultural, business, educational pertaining to your residency. Your permanent residency status grants you certain rights and privileges, such as restricted right to becoming citizens after a certain waiting period, and of course the application and process for citizenship. You would also have the right to free or subsidized educational, health and legal services as well. You will also have the right to sponsor relatives for permanent residence. Given these reasons, it is most advisable to extend your permanent visa status before it expires to enjoy living in the land down under with the marsupials.